Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with, how would I put this, a subscriber's, not a request, but a question, and the question was, Ceri, do you ever collage onto canvases and canvas board? Do you ever do abstract with your gel prints? The answer is yes. This was a piece of mine, I'm not sure, I can get it just about in, a piece I made for, a project within Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists. It's a Facebook group, and I like it. I created it so I can put it on the wall, which is exactly where it is in my craft cave, because it reminds me that I'm proud of my art and my art shouldn't be hidden away. So, and I like this, I inspire, and that's what I hope to do. So I'm going to put this to one side because that's not what we're going to work on today. And I thought, you know, abstract and canvases and that can be really quite intimidating, and also it's an expense. So let's talk about what I've done. So we're going to be working on this. This is a little canvas. I would always say if you're feeling intimidated, actually, there you go. I would say it's supposed to be an 8x8 canvas. I think that's supposed to be. However, it's not a new canvas. I don't know if can you see through that? You can barely see. You'll see there's an image behind, because I bought this canvas as part of this set, and I got 4 of them. The one in here is the other purple one. I got 4 of them for £1, so that's 25 pence, and I got them in my local charity shop. You know, when you always walk into one of those thrift stores, charity shops, there's always that bin of art. I always look at things that are on canvases. Now this is canvas. It's probably a plastic-based canvas, so what I've done is I put white gesso over this because I wanted to cover up part of the background, and I also wanted to give it some tooth so the matte medium will stick to it. So that's what we're going to work for. It's an inexpensive way to play. So for 25 pence, which is probably about 30 cents if you're in America, I've got myself a project board. So if it's not high value, I don't mind if I ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it, hopefully not anyway. So the other thing I'm going to be using is I'm using Liquitex matte medium gel, and that's because I'm quite a big fan of Froyle Davies in New Zealand, and Froyle is one of the people I actually saw using this, and I changed it and I've never regretted it. So I've got in a bit of a matte here so I can actually use stuff on it, and I've got a couple of brushes. These are palm brushes by Ranger, by Tim Holtz. They're well loved, as you can see. Now I will apologise slightly, it's snowing here and I only film by natural daylight, so not the brightest of days, but hopefully the artwork will make up for it. What I'm using, now I'm not going to go through and show you all of them, but this is a selection of the gel prints I've done. Now I did, I believe, make a video of a flip through of these. So what I will do is I will try and put into the description box, which is down there, a link to that video, because I don't want to go through all of this again for the pure reason there's no need to. So let's get on and let's have some fun. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put pieces down just to see where my mind is at. I also want to wrap all the way around to the back so that if my art is seen from the side, it's not going to be blank on the sides. So all I've done is I found a little box in my craft cave that actually sits within the recess of the back. So when I actually get to start gluing, it can be supported and these areas will not get stuck to my work surface. So if you see this box up here, that's what it is. Can't remember where I got that box from, to be honest. Right, I've always liked that piece. Now I'm thinking I'd like to try something almost like tribal. I don't want to say African per se, but something along those lines. Something that's got an earthiness to it. I'm liking the coppers and the browns, and I like oranges as well. I just want to get stuff into here that I can then work from. Like that's very, and these are sort of papers that are inspired by Froyle as well. Froyle is so talented at making papers, so I very often watch Froyle and find that I'm going, oh, I need to make that, I need to make that. Now I tend to tear my papers. Not everyone tears papers. Some people will cut papers. It depends on the grain of the paper as to which way it will actually tear best. Now I'm using carnival tissue paper that these were printed on, but I know Freud actually uses gift wrap tissue paper. So I think I want that right down the edge of there. So I'm going to come straight in. I also find, take that off there, some unusual bit of a something. I find if I don't think a lot, I get better results. That may sound very bizarre to you, but for me, it is very much when I do abstract. If I overanalyze it, I will never achieve it. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to catch all of the edges. I want to make sure I've got a reasonable coating on here because I want to make sure I don't have any bubbles underneath it. And I'm going to wipe my brush around the edges. I'm going to work on the edges separately. I'm going to come in now, give myself enough for a wrap around and just work that out to the edges. Now I'm not really putting any of the gel medium over the top. I've got another brush I'm just going to brush any air bubbles out with. I will eventually be putting stuff over the top. You will find naturally when you're using tissue paper, you're probably going to have air bubbles in it. Do I mind? No, that just adds to the texture as far as I'm concerned. So when we look at the back of this, I do have to take a pair of scissors because obviously I don't want to build up too much around the back. So I'm going to cut in at a slight angle to the corner and a slight angle. I'm not being ultra picky about this. I just want to get it covered. You can alternatively cut directly across the corner. I find if you do that, you will end up with real exposed corners. Now, I know there's going to be other layers on here. So that was an example. I just wanted to show you that. I know there's going to be other layers and other pieces. So when it comes to the initial things, I don't mind things like that happening. When it comes to getting to the final stages, I do very much mind. So I will then take more time doing stuff. So wrap that around there. And I'll probably come all the way and wrap it round to the back, to be honest. Now, anything that's flapping here after the whole thing is set and dried, I will actually just come in and I will snip them off with a pair of scissors. So, another reason, obviously, I've not put any gel medium on this side is because you can see I'm laying it down to work on. Now, if I've put it on, if I've painted over the top, which I will do in part of this process, you'll find that I don't actually lay it down again. Get that on there. So you can see it just adds now. See, this will annoy people if they haven't covered it up, but at this stage I'm not bothered because I know there's going to be more pieces on there. I mean, I don't plan what I'm doing, as you've just seen and heard. I go by my gut instinct with this sort of stuff. However, I do like to make sure that everything's as neat and tidy as I can make it as I go along. So right, just at this point now, I will come in, and as I've got the initial one down, I'm just going to give this a bit of a brush. It's up to be honest with you, it is really up to how you feel most comfortable working. Now, if you're using gift wrap tissue paper, you have to be a little more respectful of the integrity of the tissue paper. When I'm using what I'm using here, which is carnival tissue paper, this is a water resistant tissue paper, so it is meant to be something that can get wet and not dissolve. There are some disadvantages to that process, and I would say the disadvantages to that are that if you're using carnival and you put tissue paper on, it's not going to disappear into the background as other tissue papers would. Right, so I've got this. Now, another thing to point out here, if you're using metallics in your paints, let's see, as per this is a metallic, the moment you put a matte medium over the top, it's going to go flat again. like it's going to become matte. However, what you can do is once you finish the piece and it's completely dry, you can come in and put a varnish on there that could be used with acrylic paints, or you could even use a spray varnish, whichever you feel. Right, now I think at this point I want to add a pop of something that's going to be really vibrant in there. And for me, I think I like this. I do. I think I'll take this down. Oh, there you go. So that's where the grain is on this one. It's going straight down. Do I want it all the way up? I don't. Take that off there. So hopefully, for the person who asked, this will help understand what I do and how I do it. When I'm doing bigger pieces, like the piece I showed you at the beginning of the video, I will spend a bit more time considering what I want it to look like as a final piece. And even if it's abstract, I will spend some time laying pieces out to get a pleasing balance, a good aesthetic within the piece for myself. So right, I think I want that in that corner. Now, as far as laying stuff out on the canvas, as I said, I don't really abide by any rules if there are rules to be abided by. I will respect the fact that I will use the rule of thirds occasionally, which means there's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and I'm not going to get into terminology, to be honest with you, because I'm not an art tutor. I just know what I know. I probably know more from photography about rules of thirds and the golden rule and all of that. Don't want that. I want that about. I like this in this corner. So I know more about that from my photography, because photography is one of my main hobbies. Have I got any medium under that? I do. Right. So now I've got that on there. I'm going to then try to pick this up without putting it down this time and work my way around the corners. Now, you will note I didn't snip it this time. That's because I want to show you another way of doing it. Now, when you've folded it over, you can come in with your scissors and cut towards that fold, and obviously that will give you the perfect corner. I'm going to snip that little bit off. All save your bits, you never know when you're going to use them. I come in, work that around. I didn't have enough matte medium under there. There you go. Tuck the ends in. I hope you'll be able to see this, because I'm looking at the piece of art. I'm not actually looking through the camera, to be honest with you, because I need to look at what I'm doing. So as you can see, you get a much cleaner corner in that instance if you do it that way. So those are just options. It depends on whether you're planning to do anything else on them afterwards. It depends on how you want to work. Let's put this back on top of the box so I can work on it from here. I'm going to come in with that brush that I had before. As I said, this is just the way I work. As I said, I don't mind wrinkles. Wrinkles to me are texture. Texture to me is interest. So we've got that on there. So I'm kind of dividing this up into pieces as I would with a collage piece if I was working not in this medium. So let's take some of these. So you can't see what I'm doing over here, but I'm just flicking through papers. Oh, I quite like that one. I'm going to add a piece of that across there. I like the way that the orange ties the red to the black. working those little bits of air bubbles out. Now eventually, of course, my little brush will get a coating of matte gel medium, which isn't a problem because it helps me work things down. But I try not to add excessive amounts. So I've got that on there. I'm liking where that's going. I want this bit covered now. And I'm thinking, do I have anything yellow? Well, actually, I've got this white. I loved this white when I made this. I'm going to leave that to one side because I've got a feeling I want to use that, but I'm not sure it's just yet. I've got in mind, I'd like to see whether I've got something in yellow. I've got this in yellow. It's very much of an orange, isn't it? So there's anything else in here. Do I want to go to the more earthy tones, maybe? Do I want to go black and white? No, because I want to cover that up before I do anything else. I did pull this in. I'm wondering whether... Let's go for it. What is it? At the end of the day, it was just paper, paint, and time. So I'm just tearing off this edge to give myself less of a uniform cut edge. I think probably about there will be okay. I will try and put a link to Froyle's YouTube channel in the description box. As I said, I would definitely advise you going across there if you're someone who wants to see abstract art with gel prints and canvases and art journaling, and Froyle does a fabulous job of it. Pop across, show her some love. She does some fabulous work. I'd like to meet you one day, Froyle, if you're ever in this hemisphere, or you're ever in Britain. Or you never know where I'll show up one day, will you? Right, let's pick this up. Come on, pick you up. I don't want to sit you down, I just want to pick you up. So where it gets a little bit awkward is when every surface is wet, so that's why I like to use the box, because it gives me somewhere to rest things. Come in and encourage that up there. Right, I'm just going to snip across here. And snip down here. I'm just going to balance that on there a second because I've obviously run out of matte gel medium. You do go through a fair chunk of matte gel medium when you're doing this, which is why I like the Liquitex, because I can't say it's cheap, but it's an inexpensive brand compared to some of the other brands out there. Let's just move that around there so I've got something to hold on to. Now, ideally, I would work for a little while and then take a little break. Work for a little while and take a little break. But as I wanted to try and get this done today for you guys, I'm trying to work wet on wet, which is not the easiest of things to do. As you may be seeing, going, what the heck is he doing? I'm just working. Right, let's pop that over there. Get back on there. Right, now it's on the surface. I can work at smoothing this down. Now I'm going to put a layer of gel medium on here, purely because my next stage is I'm going to have to let this dry for a little while. Purely because to be able to do what I need to do next, which is another layer, I can't keep on adding and adding. I actually just want to give it a bit of a break. It also helps me because as the matte gel medium dries, everything becomes totally transparent, so it's back to its true values again. And I'm talking about the colour. Right. I think we're doing okay. Let's have a quick little look around. do I want anything? I'm thinking I want something there. I'd quite like to pull that across, but I don't know whether that's what I want to put over here. It would create a balance, but whether it's the balance I want, I don't know. Let's sit for a second and have a think. Now, I did like the idea of the white, and I'm wondering whether this is now the time just to put a bit of the white in here. Now, of course, you can cut the tissue. I mean, if you want a good straight line, then by all means go ahead and cut it. I'm wondering whether I want to do that actually. I might want to do that. Let me just pick up the worst pair of scissors you've got, Griffiths. That's me just being lazy. I just grabbed for scissors. Now, let's start that again, shall we? There you go. Cuts beautifully when you've got the right tools, doesn't it? Right. So I do think I want to add this in here, but I don't really want to cover up that. I suppose I could always add another piece of that because I do have more of it. So maybe we'll do that. So I'm just coming in to sort this corner out because I just want an extra layer of interest. Pick that up. I can see through that, that's fine. I think the one thing I really like about abstract, for me personally, is for me it's art without rules. Now, I would like to say art doesn't have rules, period. I think it's more likely that creativity doesn't have rules. Let me just see if I can lift this up. Sorry about that. I'll work really quickly so that it doesn't stick itself to the box, or we're in deep trouble with that. Let's lift that off there. Don't stick to that. Right. I'm going to take a break now because I want to make sure everything is fully dried. I can hit this with a heat gun or a hairdryer just to chill it off a bit. Yeah, that's the way it was, wasn't it? So bear with me. I'm going to put a damp cloth over the top of my brushes and my matte medium so that, again, they don't dry out because I don't want them to. So bear with me, guys. Be about 2 seconds for you, probably about 5 minutes for me. I'm going to hit this with a heat gun just to get it dry so I can keep on filming. So here I'm back again. It's dry to the touch. It's not fully dried all the way around, but it's definitely dry to the touch. And it means I can carry on working on it. And the reason I like to dry it is because you can see, as the matte medium dries off, it does mean that you can actually see more of the true colours, and the true colours is basically what I'm looking for as inspiration or placement for my other pieces. So now I did pull this piece in and I said I really liked it and I wanted to use it, and I do want to use it. I can see I've got a circle theme going on. This has got circles in it. I also liked the way this looked purely as a dynamic piece to just catch the eye. So I'm going to cut this one because I don't want torn edges on this. Let's put that one by. I'm going to come in and I'd like to have a reasonably thin strip of this. Am I worried that I'm cutting in a perfectly straight line? No, because it's art. And if there's one thing I've learned about art, art is anything you perceive to be art. So I just wonder where I want to place this. This is actually going to be one of the top. Now I like the way that there's pink in there and there's pink in there. So I might just lay that there for a second to let my mind think it through. Now I want to see where I put the rest of that paper, because I did want to reintroduce an element of this, and I'm thinking I'll put one up there. And that's the joy of creating your own pieces of tissue, or your own pieces for art, is because you can only produce them once. They're a unique piece. I'm thinking, do I want to put that up there or not? I'm going to leave that one, just leave it there in the parking lot for a few minutes. Just let my mind think about it. I'm liking where this could go. I think I want to snip that off there. Actually, snip it off there, it can go around the edge. Remember, keep your scraps, you never know when you'll need them. I do like that. I'm just going to put that on. And why I've suddenly decided to glue the back of the tissue instead of the canvas, I don't know. It's as the whim has taken me. I do like that. I want that to go. Is that straight? I'm trying to look through the camera to see whether it's straight. Let me just tip it up a second. That's straighter. And wrap that round there. Wrap it around there. And just press this down. So that's actually brought lightness to the piece, and it has also brought the pink up into this. Now I do have a lot of colour going on in here, and I'm aware that I've got a lot of colour in there. I do want to bring some of this up into this corner, and I'm wondering whether I want to do it as maybe 2 half circles. So coming in through here, and do a snip. And what I'm thinking is adding that up there. Now I am being, I don't want to say precise, but I am thinking more of cutting in straight lines, of cutting, that was far from straight there. I'm thinking more of cutting with the scissors now than tearing, because I want to actually give this a certain dynamic. I want those straight lines because they're what I feel this piece needs now. Quite, I don't want that touching it. I do want that overlapping that. Right, let's put that piece down. Let's glue this again on this thing. Can you see? You can see. Good. So now I use my gel prints a lot. Normally I use them for journal covers. I cover storage boxes with them because I do my own storage boxes in my craft cave, which, oh actually I don't know why I'm due to do that again. I do a craft cave tour once a year, and I'm not 100% certain when it's supposed to be filmed. To bear with me, I've got this stuck on the back. There you go, back in shot again. I don't know when it's due actually. I don't know when I did the last one. I'll have to have a look. And you will see that I do use my gel prints for that. I use my gel prints for lots of stuff. So it's an art form I absolutely enjoy. So there you go. So that's given me that in that corner. Now I am looking very much at linear shapes here, if linear is the right word. Not known for my command of the English language some days. So now I haven't purposely decided on an up, a down, a side, and that's because to me it's abstract. However, this is quite a dominant feature, and I'm feeling I'm liking it in that. What do I look at that? Quite like it like that actually. That balances that. That feels right. I do want to put something there, and I don't know what it is. It's not that, I can absolutely assure you. Right, so where are we up to? I want to add something that's going to lighten that area up in there, because it's just a tad too dark for me at the moment. Now I could come in with white gesso, I could come in with white acrylic paint, I could come in with any colour acrylic paint, to be honest with you, and add a piece. I love this piece. No, sorry, it's too dark for that one. So let's have a bit of a think. I was playing with that idea too, but that's too... It's not got enough vibrancy for me. I did pull this in, and I keep pulling this in, but that's too busy. I'm drawn to these colours all of the time. I need to break away from them slightly. Well, there's a thought. That would be very, very Freud, wouldn't it? Freud puts circles on a lot of her art, and I love circles too, so I'd be very happy to put a circle on there. So I'm just shuffling through pages here, guys. I've got this with these interesting squares. Let's put that there for a think as well. No, that's the wrong colour. And I think the reason I'm drawn to this is because that colour is almost already in there. It's not identical, but I don't mind that. Oh, now that's an interesting thought. Let's leave that one there as well. Now I could cut out a copper circle, and that is the same pattern as that. That's another one to think of. Or I could cut out just a block colour of it. I think we need to be making some decisions here. I'm liking that as well. Right, let's try and make some decisions. So I just pulled this one out, and I'm liking the way this looks up against that white. I wonder, how accurately can I cut a square? That's going to be an interesting exercise. Sometimes I'm known to not even be able to cut a straight line. Let's just snip that edge off there. I do like that there, actually. Let's just pop you in here. Now, as you can see, you cannot be precious about the layers you put on before, because, as you've seen here, they can get covered up. They will just disappear. Okay, I'm liking that. That was a good move. Right, let's move away from that then. Now, I was trying to find something to go here, wasn't I? And I'm slightly drawn to this, but I'm wondering whether it may get lost. Let's just slide that up a little bit, so then you can actually see what I'm doing here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to cut this piece out of here. Pop over. I'm going to see whether I can cut. Now, I have found, and so have many other artists, is if you keep your scissors in one orientation and turn the piece you're trying to cut, if you're cutting a circle or a rounded shape, you're more likely to get a better cut. It works for me. I've seen it work for lots of other people. It may be something you're familiar with, but I always like to say things like this purely because if you're a new person to art or junk journaling or design or ephemera, it's always worth sharing the tips that we take for granted. It's always worth saying them out loud, because you never know who has actually not even heard of it before. We all started somewhere. That was not a bad cut, even if I do say so myself. Right, let's pull this back in. And I was thinking, not convinced. Let's leave that by there. I cut it out, won't ever go to waste. Right, it's this area here. I'm looking for an element to put in there. Now I did, but actually I've had a thought. Sorry, Ceri and his indecisiveness. I think we could play around with an idea that I really like using, and that is repetition. And I think if I've got 3 of these squares and I line these 3 squares up, then that will give me repetition. but it'll also give me some coherence because they're all the same in design and colour. Now, of course, you can use things like magazine images, you can use words, you can use anything like, I mean, you can go in and stamp on this stuff. You can, basically, whatever you want to do, you can do. I just like to play. Is everything perfect? No. Is it ever going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Is every decision I make correct? No, absolutely not. But it is correct at the time of making in my mind. So, right, so as you can see, I've now got 3 of these squares, and I'm wondering whether I want to bring those squares in down here, because repetition is a very valid tool, and I think I like that. Right, let's take that off there, and that off there. I want to try and make sure I've got the diamonds facing in the correct direction, though, because there's diamonds underneath it as well. So you can see where I'm going with this. I didn't plan to put the diamonds on top of the diamonds, but it just happened to be. So I'll put this one down here, leaving a small gap there. I like the small gap. Smooth that down. Now, a trick I found is to put the top one up next. Got the diamonds in the right orientation. And then that way you can place the centre one equidistant. And it looks as if you went to a whole load of trouble planning the spacing out. When in fact you didn't. You just put them down where you felt, top and bottom, and went from there. Okay, I'm liking that better. Right, I think I would like to see whether I've got a word of some description in my snippet box, because I feel if I put a word across there, and as you can see, I do like putting words on stuff. I am liking the circle theme, aren't I? Circle, 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 all circles, circles, circles. I'm wondering, right, I think what I need to do is, bear with me, I want to pull that up there. Now I've got this drawer. Let's see if I move that out so you can actually see what I'm looking at. What's that? I've got this drawer where I snip out magazine. What's the word artist? Ooh, wonder whether that... Let's put that there. I snip words out of magazines, out of books, and I've got absolutely loads of them. That's too big. And I tend to stash them, and then I use them. So obviously it's a good reason to stash them. It's just finding the right word. Influence is another good word. Oh, it's yellow. I was looking for yellow earlier on. Yeah, when you start to collect snippets of stuff, you will have them all over the place. Because I do lots of collage, I do glue books, I do collage pieces, I make ephemera, I do junk journals. No, I don't want to make a political statement here. I tend to stockpile stuff, and all of these come from magazines, old books, anything I'm using really. If you've seen my channel before, you've probably seen me use them in pieces of art as I go along. It won't take too long to do this. I just want to have another little look on this side. If that was smaller, I would put that there as a statement, but I suppose, no, everyone isn't going to work for me. What's that say? Right, I think we're going to go with one of the words I've chosen out. So let's have a look. I've chosen these two out, so let's do a bit of auditioning and see what works. Influence, too big. Right, that's you gone. I'm drawn to this word artist, but I'm actually drawn to the word escape as well. I wonder whether I can cut these. I normally use my guillotine to cut, so I don't have the space with everything on here to use my guillotine, and I'd rather not stop the camera again unless I absolutely have to. Artist is a very important word to me, and it's a word that not everyone agrees with. I personally, and we're speaking completely personal here, I believe that anyone who creates anything is an artist. And I think far too many people don't agree with me. I mean, not they have to agree with me, but what they do is they go, oh, I'm just a hobbyist, or I'm just a crafter, or I'm just... No, actually, you're creating something that's valid, and you're creating art. See, I like that. That might go on there. I'm also liking escape. So, now if I don't use them, at least these are cut out for the next time I use them. Let's get rid of that lot. I've got a feeling the pale one may just be a bit too pale. Maybe not. Now this artist did come with a the. I'm wondering whether I need to cut that out for a play as well. Still stick down. I haven't stuck it down yet. I know they're a bit distant, but I quite like that. How does that look in the screen? Sorry guys, I'm going quiet because I'm trying to work this one out. It's funny, I don't know what I'm aiming for. However, when I find it, I will know it. This circle keeps drawing me, but it's the wrong thing. That doesn't look straight. That looks straighter. Oh, that doesn't look straight either. The joys of wearing very focal glasses. Everything looks like it's slightly curved. Which is why I normally use a guillotine. That's better. It feels wrong to put this on this side, but then who is to say that I can't? Right, this definitely feels like the right place for the word artist. So the word artist is going to go down. Now, this feels like quite a heavy magazine this was pulled from, so I'm hoping that it's not going to buckle or anything. I also want to do a really quick brush over the top and hope none of the inks move. Actually, I quite like that to have been over a little bit further. Which can happen with inexpensive magazines. They actually move the inks. I quite like that. That's not what you would expect. I haven't been drawn to what there is. Art. This feels like it needs something, and I can't work out what it is. Let's put the word there and have a little bit more of a look-see and see if there's anything I can just go, oh, that's it, that's it, that's it. We haven't got any real metallic on here, have we? I'm wondering whether what I need is a piece of metallic. Right, you have to cut this. So that's straight-ish. Dithering, guys. Okay, I've got turquoise, I've got red, I've got a hint of orange, I've got pink. I don't know why that's important, but that's lovely though. I'm liking that. Let's see what that looks like on there. It does have a few of the other elements in it. Right, that's too big. It's hard when I can't see exactly what I'm doing because I've got the camera in front of me. It's almost like working blind. I wonder whether that's what I should be doing. I think it's a bit of a sign that that is actually the same width as that. I do like this though. Sorry guys, this is exactly what it's like when I create anything. I need to first find out what it is that I want, which is not always obvious. I am liking the idea of this going vertically though. Let's just do it. What's the worst it's going to do? It's going to cost me 25 pence and a bit of time, paper and paint. Let's put that on there, make sure I get it lined up correctly. That's on there. Now this is the bit that's up for debate. This bothers me. Why it bothers me, I do not know, but it bothers me. I think the circle in here is the bit that's wrong. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to put that down there. If it's wrong, so be it. But then who is to tell me it's wrong? As I said, I'm not an art teacher. I've never done an art degree. I'm pretty much I am self-taught, but highly influenced by those I see around me. Right, I'm going to hit pause because I want this to dry and then we'll see the true colour of it come through. Okay, so bear with me. Going to stop you for 2 seconds again, do a bit of a tidy up here because there's stuff all over the place. And then what I'll do is I'll actually, I might even put a varnish on this just so you can see what the final image will look like. Okay, back in 2 seconds for you. So here you go guys, it's all nice and dry. I did give it a coat of something to seal it. You can either use satin varnish, which I use, or you can use Mod Podge, or you could actually just paint the same matte medium over the top. But remember, if you've got anything that's shiny, the matte medium will make it matte. The answer's in the name. Now, is it a next Picasso? No. Is it going to be in the work of art that earns you millions? No. But you know what? I know which I'd rather have on the wall of my creative space. And also, not only that, you've learned something. You've had a go. You haven't spent out on a vast expensive canvas. I've spent 25 pence, which is about 30 cents on the canvas, and the paints and everything that I would have been using anyway. I mean, you can do this with just craft paper. You don't have to do it with tissue paper. Just have a go. The first step is always the hardest one to do. You've done one, so maybe you'll do another one. Maybe you do another one. Maybe you do another. And before you know it, you will have found your pace. You will have found your style. But if you keep letting the, oh, I'll never be able to do it, stop you doing it, you're never going to get anywhere. I mean, just have a go. I mean, it's not the most fabulous piece of art I've ever created in my life. But you know what? When I put that on a shelf in my creative space, in my craft cave, and it's amongst my other belongings, it's just a reminder of, you know, that was just a step along the road, a step on the way to making something far better than I was before. So, I'm Ceri the Crafter. I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'm going to say goodbye for now. So that's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time. Bye-bye now.